Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com and ChrisVossGaming.com. We're coming here with, of course, another podcast. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the show. You can, of course, go to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Geez, all the different places you can ever possibly download a podcast you can take and go to download the podcast for either show. And, of course, we have our sister shows. You can go to thecvpn.com, the Chris Voss Podcast Network. You can see the 6 or 7 different podcasts that we have there as a chain, and you can subscribe to whichever sort of variant or taste you have, whether it's politics, whether it's gaming, whether it's the Chris Voss Show, which is a very general show about everything and anything, kind of Larry Kingish. But you can go there and subscribe, hit the bell notification if you would, so you get a notification for all the stuff. And of course, our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Chris Voss. You can also go to twitch.tv/Chris Voss and see all the gaming stuff we're putting up there. And of course, we're always doing different things with different game makers and giving away all sorts of stuff that we have on the YouTube channel. So be sure to check in for that as well. Today, we have a really cool game developer and one of the representatives on board with us. So it's going to be an interesting interview today. And it is Band Lehan from Egosoft Gaming. So welcome to the show, Band.
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Thanks for having me. All the way from Germany, too.
Correct.
So it's let's see, it's 11 a.m. here in America. What time is it there in Germany?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. And I have a lot of wonderful friends in Germany that are in Germany. How does that work out? My family actually came there from there in the late 1800s, the Voss family. And someday I'm going to come back and reclaim all the stuff that we left behind.
Do you know which area?
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I did see one time that there was some Voss shipyards during the Hitler era there, World War, and I'm like, oh man, I think we left some money behind. Maybe I have some inheritance I can get from, like, I don't know, some of my ancestors. I don't know, that sounds really awful, huh? Why would I want to carry it on? Anyway, we'll move on. So enough of the jokes there. Let's talk about X4 Egosoft. You guys have been around for a long time, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct indeed. We the company is actually founded in 1990 already. That's a long time ago. I feel always very old when I talk about that. Started on computers like the Commodore Amiga and did games that you certainly never heard of in the US, because the first couple of games were only done for the German market, adventure games, advertisement stuff to make some money, and then in the mid-90s, 1996, we started with this little space game. We originally also did for the Commodore Amiga, and then but then brought it over to Windows 95 and then the Windows platform when the graphic accelerators came out. And that was really the start of the new Egosoft, if you will, because this is what is now become the X series. The first game of that series was released in 1999, and that's X Beyond the Frontier. And since then, we basically went all in with that series. We've been working for now more than 20 years, 22 years now on just that series, and making space games, and try to really make a simulation game that gives you a universe in which you can do whatever you like. A space universe with trading, building, exploration, battles, and so forth.
And you guys have just released X4 Foundations. It's available on Steam. Is Steam the only platform it's on right now?
Steam is not the only platform. It's also available on GOG. And of course, there are other platforms that sell keys. But yeah, mainly it's Steam is, of course, the biggest one. And
this is a beautiful, elegant space odyssey sort of looking. I don't know how to put it, but it's beautiful. I'm watching the videos of it right now as we're talking. Flying through space, just a really sharp images, beautiful feel, different ships, of course, that you can soar through space, different planets you can go to, different giant ships in space that look like, I don't know what you call it, Battlestar Galactica, these giant things. Lots of intricate work you guys have done, and really dreaming up just a beautiful spacescape, if you will. Oh, there's aliens too. Aliens, I like aliens.
Thank you.
It's always good to be friends with aliens, just in case. You know, you never want to make sure. Just, you know, if they ever show up, you know, if you don't believe in them, those are the people that they take up and do weird things to. So.
Oh, yeah. It's a colorful universe, indeed. Yeah, we've worked on the universe also for all of that time. And there's also like the base of that universe with the aliens and everything was really laid already with X Beyond the Frontier, which told a little bit of the story of our current days space technology. It started actually with Apollo 11. You saw the moon landing and this kind of stuff, and then it went on and started telling the future of mankind as we could have imagined it by discovering jump gates, and then an exploration fleet that went into what we call the X universe, and first finding it completely uninhabited. And yeah, it's a long story. I could tell for ages, but eventually they find aliens and then started basically trading, also wars, as always. There's a long history to it, as with books, with games, with everything.
So is this technically the 4th installment in the game, or is there more? Or?
Yeah, it's the 4th big game. We always just bump up the number when we have something really big, and it's not just. It's both a technology jump, because it's a completely new engine, completely new technical platform, but it's also every time we do that, it's also new gameplay. But at the core of it is always this idea that you have a universe in which you can do basically everything. We give you a universe and you decide how you play inside of it. There's very different players in the for a typical X game. Some want to trade mainly, some want to fight battles mainly. So that core value, that's always the same. That remains true for all X games. But since X Beyond the Frontier, we always added new features on top of the last game. So with that very first game, you were already able to trade. But for example, X2 The Threat, which came out in 2003, was then the first game to also really allow you to fly all kinds of ships. So with that game, you were able to also go not just small fighters with a couple of weapons, but actually also fly personally large capital ships. With turrets, and in X2 you could actually map them to multiple monitors, little windows, and control larger fleets. You could personally go into those ships, but you could also control them with menus by giving them commands. So you have fleet management as well as personal flight. Then also already a game called Extension, which was in between those games. Like I said, there were more than just those 4 base games. Already introduced running your own stations. So you can also build space stations, which are also factories. So they produce wares. So that's something for the traders that don't just want to make money with trading, but want to build stuff. So the game really encompasses lots of different gameplay elements. And that's also true for X4. X4 really continues this tradition. We kind of have all of the gameplay elements of the past and add more on top of it. So there's at the first moment, you could say there's an overwhelming amount of features. But what we try with, especially now with X4, is to really try to make them available on a very intuitive way, so that you don't get scared by too many complicated menus, because that's a little bit the risk that we run with a game that has so many features, is that when you get in and you look at menus and you see, wow, what's that? Too many complicated,
too many options and not intuitive. This is a beautiful, elegant game. If you guys want to check out the game, you can check it out on Steam, of course. You can also see a lot of videos on YouTube, and it's just beautiful. How can I run this in 4K?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. The images are super sharp. I love the colorization, the thoughtful design that you guys put in this. You guys could be making sci-fi videos or movies with this on Hollywood, because these are just beautiful designs. I mean, this looks like something that some sort of Hollywood guy would dream up. Who's the guy that I'm thinking who's the big producer, produced Aliens and a lot of different movies.
Right, Aliens was done by Ridley Scott. I don't know.
Scott. This is like something Ridley Scott might come up with. If you don't mind me making that reference. Cool. It's just really elegant. And I'm just really impressed with it. Visually, games really have to be visually appealing to me. Like we recently wrote a review on Anthem, and one of the problems with Anthem is they did it in some sort of like kind of grayish grayscale to where everything blends into everything. And it becomes kind of like sometimes you have a hard time even seeing enemies. But this is really visually appealing what you guys have done with X4. One of my favorite games is Destiny 2 by Bungie. And the one thing I've always loved is the artwork that goes into it. In spite of some of the issues that I've had with Bungie and our community there, of course, I think every gaming community has issues with the developer from, they don't like this, they don't like that, but at least they love the game. Is the artwork and the detail you guys have in here, the ships, is pretty amazing. And you can build your ship, I guess, right?
Correct. Yeah, with building is an important part that was added even later. As I said, you could build stations, but building ships is also, like building stations now, a little bit modular. Station building is completely modular. You have, I don't know if you maybe also have seen that in one of the videos, you actually have now a 3-dimensional map, which also allows you basically creating stations from modules. So you design them really by putting together 3D parts, which stand for certain functionality. For example, as I said, many are factories actually producing wares. So you have those production modules, and you put them together with storages that store the products and the resources they need, and then you put connect them with a dock for the ships to land, and so forth. So you're building the stations really on a modular level. And with ships, it's similar, but it isn't. You're not designing the ship yourself. I mean, we do not want people to make Lego ships that then also look like Lego. We design ships, but you put elements on top of them. For example, on capital ships, you can design. You can decide what kind of turrets you put where, or what engines you mount on a ship, or what shield generators to use. So you configure them on a more on that level. But also visually, you have the ability to put paint mods on them. So you also change the design of the ships a little bit. We try to make a lot of customization options and design options, so players can actually be creative in the universe as well.
That is awesome. Now, I can get in, looks like ship battles, where I can fight battles with ships and stuff like that?
Yeah, of course. Battles are, of course, one of the more obvious things people want to do in a space game, and that's where we more or less came from. The action aspect, where you sit in your cockpit and you are fighting first smaller missions, one ship against another, and later when you have more ships yourself and you are also then controlling entire fleets of ships, you can also go into full-on wars and do that more on a strategic, almost strategic control of battles.
So can I play with my friends, or is this solo player?
This is traditionally the X series is a single-player game only. That's the one distinguishing thing between us and games like Star Citizen, for example.
Well, I don't have any friends anyway. I game too much as it is.
Yeah. But actually, we now in December have released for the very first time for us a little online mode. But it's not what you would expect with the term online mode, where you can actually play directly with your friends. That's not yet, and also not for the near future planned. But instead, you are able to send your ships into other people's universe. So when you have NPC ships that other NPCs in your universe fly for you, like the fleets that I mentioned, those are crewed by men working for you. And so over when you are a little bit more advanced in the game and playing it for a longer time, you could have dozens, later hundreds of people working for you. And those people with their ships, you can send on special missions into the online universe, basically like a parallel universe to yours. And they can bring back rewards. And you will then see ships of visitors in your universe, and they will see your ships in their universe. So that also incentivizes people to actually design their ships a little bit more. Like if you put a paint mod on your ship, if you put certain weapons on them, they will see your ships like that. And that's like a more indirect way of interacting with other players.
Wow. And I'm going to show the video here. I'm not sure if this will come out, but we'll try and put the iPad up to the camera. People can kind of get an idea of just the beauty, the elegance of the game. It doesn't capture the sharpness here because, of course, we're just using a webcam. But really, really is spectacularly beautiful, and looks like a great adventure sort of area. Is that a Death Star that I just saw? You can see here you can build a game. You got a blueprint.
There was for a moment the map on screen, which is that 3D map that I was just talking about, that allows you to navigate the entire universe. Here you see how the player can move through cockpits. That's one of the new things in X4, that you are not just basically when you go from one ship to another, you are not doing that, no longer doing that instantly, but actually, like you would think, you actually stand up in a cockpit, you can walk around in your ship, you climb down a ladder. If the ship is parked on another platform, you can actually climb out of your ship, walk over to another ship, enter it. So everything is really like you would imagine, like has this personal level. In the past, we were not able to do that because that's a really huge development effort. You can imagine all of the character animation and the character part is actually a large development effort. And it was much easier in the beginning to just basically teleport from one ship to another, or warp yourself over, if you like. So this is a big step forward that we did with X4 Foundations.
It's beautiful, and of course the video that I was just showing off our iPad with reflections and everything don't do it justice, but everything is super sharp, super beautiful. This is an environment where I could just go get lost for hours wandering around looking at stuff, and just seeing the texture and design detail of it is something that I really like. What else can I do with the game? Can I land on any of the planets? Can I go, I don't know, shoot aliens with a gun, or is it just spaceships?
It's funny, the very first thing you said, can I land on planets? That's like a running joke in our company, because that's something that fans are asking for, like, almost the 20 years that the game is out. I mean, as I said, we were developing it for more than 20 years, but the first game came out in 1999, so exactly 20 years ago. Of course, we show those beautiful planets, and then you are always in space. You are trading, you are fighting, you are playing missions, you are exploring, mining, all of those things. But landing on planets was never possible. And fans always asked, when can we land on planets? But that's
it's funny. They always want everything, huh?
It's true, and we are trying to give them everything. That's the crux, you know. We really do. We are really also working together with fans, always listening, trying to find out what is how important, because literally we can go on forever developing this game.
Sure, yeah.
At any moment when we release a game, we already have a long list, hundreds of features that we could continue working on, and that's actually what we do. So we are constantly just filtering what's easier, what's worth more for the player, what gives you more value, what adds more to the game. Certainly landing on planets would be cool, but it's also really, really hard to do. And then you have to really, to make it true to that universe, it would also have to be huge. I mean, the planet cannot be like unrealistically small. We want to have everything realistic in sizes. So that is not so easy to do and combine with the rest of the gameplay. It would be possible. It's just awfully hard. And I mean,
you might end up with some disappointment over that. I mean, No Man's Sky tried pulling that off, and a lot of people were disappointed in the whole experience.
Oh, but I think by now they actually came back pretty good now with updates. No Man's Sky did some recent updates a couple of months ago, and I think people now like it a lot more than originally. And I mean that there are lots of games that did that. and that I respect a lot. I mean, this is just like, as I said, Star Citizen is of course another cool game in this genre where we are looking at, and they do some things really cool. It's just we are in that situation where we try so many things, and we have you can compare X with some other games, or X4 now with other games, and there's always more. I mean, there's always this crazy amount of features. Of course, it is impossible to do everything better than any competitor. You know, that's like it's like our character animations will they look great, and we are really proud of them. But if you compare that with Star Citizen, then yeah, they have like hundreds of millions for just that feature. So.
Well, sometimes, you know, I mean, some of these studios, they charge a lot of money for these different things. So, you know, and then they have DLCs and they have loot. You know, the newest thing is charging for loot and all that sort of stuff, loot chests. So there's different ways to finance it. But it from what I can see, it's a beautiful game. I didn't get a chance to play it this morning, but it looks like just an elegant game, one that I would like, because I love space things. No Man's Sky was, of course, a disappointment for me when it first launched. It has improved a little bit, but you know, one of the things they promised the multiplayer, and I think you could do multiplayer on it now, but you know, the ship has sailed, and it was a pretty boring game, and the detail that I can see that you guys have here, where you can blueprint, where you can mine, where you can trade. It's just an elegantly beautiful game from the look of it. That's what really appeals to me when I see stuff, especially stuff that I haven't really seen before, and I go, wow, that's a really cool way to design that. That's very appealing to me as a gamer. And of course, flying through space is always cool, because I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. So there's some of that too as well. Anything else we need to know about the game and what you guys have got going on with it?
I just wanted to get back, if you don't mind, to No Man's Sky, because you mentioned that people were not happy with it at launch, and but I respect a lot that they actually continued developing it, and that's something that we also hear from our fans. It's hard if you try to put so much into every game, and it's always these high goals and the aspiration that you have. I think that's something that we share with No Man's Sky. I also think when the game was announced and promoted, people have these dreams of what you can do, and they showed planets, and they showed in their case the creatures on the planet and everything, and then people start dreaming, and when the game comes out, it's sometimes impossible to live up to all of those expectations. But what they did is they supported the game after release, and
they really did. And I've been surprised, and they haven't asked for any money or updates. I'm not even sure how they're staying in business at this point, but they haven't asked for any money for the updates or DLCs or anything like that. And yeah, they have built out the game. So I would agree with you there. I know that I think the CEO of Sony came out and said, you know, one of the biggest challenges, they were a small indie sort of group, and they really needed a PR agent to kind of maybe be the one who was promising as much stuff as their CEO did when he was running around saying, oh yeah, it's going to have this, it's going to have that. And should have a PR agent that was there going.
Yeah, but I feel very sympathetic for them, because we are very often in a very similar situation. We learned over the years, because we are a little longer in that industry now than they are, that not to be very careful with promises. But it is, you know, you aren't sitting in the same boat like your fans. They come and they want features, and you think, oh wow, these features are cool, and we want to work on them. And then sometimes, you have to release a product. You know, you don't want to continue working forever. And then, so you have to come down to the bottom at some point.
Yeah, you got to ship it. You got to ship it and raise some more money to build another improvement. And ship it
the reality, yeah. So, but sticking to it and making updates, and I think that tells something about this company in particular as well.
Well, that's awesome, and it's great that you guys have been a game maker for this long. I guess the future is you guys are going to keep building on this game.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, by now, as I said, it's 20 years just in that series, and the whole company developed around it. We are now all experts in just that game. And what was, it's just sounds negative, but yeah, we all the company consists all of of space fans. So that's how we define ourselves. When we hire people, the first question is always, how do you like space games? How do you like science fiction in general? So this is what we are. That's our team.
I think it's awesome, and it's a beautiful, elegant, visually appealing game. And I imagine a lot of fun. I mean, I'm looking at the cockpits that you can fly around. I'm looking at some of the fights, the space fights between the different ships and stuff. That looks like awesome. There's like ships doing barrel rolls and stuff, and trying to avoid being shot and stuff. This is probably the fun version of what sort of game I'm going to have, and of course we'll be reviewing on the gaming podcast. But this visually just looks like a really interesting game and a lot of fun and a lot of detail and stuff that I can take and do where I can build it out and do what I want to. So I think it's gonna be a great game. I guess you guys have liked the launch so far.
It was great. I mean, I'm always comparing the launch with the predecessor game, X Rebirth. I don't know if you know X Rebirth. That was a little bit outside the number system, as you may notice. We had X. I didn't list actually the games in between. I talked shortly about X2. X2, The Threat, came out in 2003. Just quickly, then there was X3 Reunion in 2005. X3 Terran Conflict in 2007, and X3 Albion Prelude in 2010, I believe. And then we had X Rebirth, no number, in 2013, and now X4 Foundations, which just came out 2 months ago. And the thing is, X Rebirth was a major new start for us because we wanted, after doing the X series with the number bumps for such a long time, we wanted to also be able to step back and simplify the game to a degree, and also cut away some features. And that's not something you can do if you sell a game and call it X4 after you had X3, right? People have expectations. They want all of those features plus more. And so with X Rebirth, we wanted to step back and simplify the user interface and also cut away a couple of features, like, for example, the ability to fly all ships. X Rebirth had only one ship. You had this very special ship, but it was a single one only. And that made, of course, the development also easier. But allowed us to concentrate on certain aspects a lot more and also develop new technology. So X Rebirth was a major milestone for us, but then the X fans, our fans, were not so happy with it because it cut away features. Like, I mean, it was what we were selling, but that's a tough sell if you suddenly have a successor in a way, and then suddenly it has some key features cut away from the game. So
aliens are really cool in here too. The detail on them is really nice. It's really there's a lot of detail you guys put into building the characters, and it really just it's fun to look at and go, oh wow, what is that?
Yeah. And then X4 Foundations is then basically bringing these things together. That's now the game where we can say it has all of those features from before, but it also has the user interface that allows you to control those things easier, and especially important, it shouldn't scare somebody new like you away from the game. You know, it's relatively easy to develop a game for that core audience of fans that already know your games for a long time, because they are not scared by complicated user interfaces. But if you want to get somebody new into the game, then you have to make it easy to get into, right? You want to play the game, start it, and not have to read a lot of manuals or a lot of complicated menus. And that was the goal with X4, that we achieved that. And I think that's what we managed.
That's awesome. I mean, intuitiveness is a big thing. We review a lot of products over the last 10 years on the Chris Voss Show. And one of the things we always evaluate a product, whether it's a game or a service or a physical product, you know, like an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, you know, we're reviewing this week. Intuitiveness is a really common goal that you want to have for consumers to take and do, because if they don't get your product, if they don't get some of the features and benefits of it, if it's hard for them to interact with it, it's going to alienate them, and they're just going to put it down and move on. And that happens, especially in the game market, where sometimes you can overcomplicate things, and people come and they just go, I don't want to go to college to learn to play this game. I'm here to just have fun, man. I'm just here to have fun. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's a constant struggle when you make a game that has so many features. You add a new feature, and every time you should ask yourself, how are players able to learn this feature? And I think it's acceptable if a game needs some tutorials, needs some manual in a late stage when you reach a feature which is not mandatory to play. Mm-hmm. And that's the case with X4. But when you start the game, when you start it for the first time, you should be able to fly a ship. You should be able to just sit down, grab your controller and fly off. And that must be true no matter how you play the game, which also makes things for us harder, because you can play the game with mouse and keyboard, or you can play with a joystick or HOTAS system, which is also not really standardized on PC. So there are lots of different HOTAS systems, and in that case, the players oftentimes have to configure their controller first. Or with the gamepad, of course. Gamepad controls are also fully supported, and that was really important. That at least for the very first hours of playing, exploring a couple of fights, you do not really have to read a manual. If then you end up in a situation and you find, oh wow, now I want to try making some money with mining. How effective is this solution of mining versus another solution? Then there are tutorials, then there are manuals, and also lots of other fans on the internet to discuss with, who make great videos about all of those things. But and
that's a great way to build a relationship too, because you start out wanting to have fun, and with a lot of games that I've fallen in love with, I got into them because they're real intuitive, and I'm not Albert Einstein. I know that surprises many in my audience, but you just want to kind of have fun. You work all day, you want to come home and you want to goof off, and so being able to have fun, and then a lot of times you get sucked in once you build a relationship with the game on a fun aspect of like, oh, well, there's some raids I can go in, there's some dungeons, and if I get the right guns, I can go beat the raid, and I get the right skill level, I can go, do the dungeons and get my armor and my guns, and all the different complications that go into this. And so you want to have fun, and there are parts of the game where sometimes you don't want to get into the complicated stuff, and you just want to go, hey, I just want to go shoot some stuff and blow it up.
It's also a question of how sandbox the game really is. It's also something we've experimented with from episode to episode. It's like on the one hand, there are like our role models of games. There are these kind of different branches. I don't know. Do you know Elite, the original Elite from the 80s? That was there's the predecessor of a game that's called now Elite Dangerous, by David Braben. That was like the grandfather of space simulation games in a sandbox way. The universe trading, that's what we do as well. But then there is this other branch of Chris Roberts of action space opera games with a lot of storytelling. He made these games that are really like a movie. You play missions mostly, you get clear instructions of what to do. And what we try, and sometimes succeed more and sometimes don't succeed so well, is combining those two things. On the one hand, you have that sandbox universe, you can do whatever you want, you can trade, build, fight, and all of those things right from the start. But at the same time, you also have plot missions, you also have a story to follow. And then we try to leave it to the player how fast he progresses in such a plot. And in X4, we went very far to the sandbox side for now. At the moment, it is a very open universe. It has a plot with some key elements in it, where you find a certain special mission, and that brings you to a special Boron. It's an underwater race pilot who you free, and then he helps you find a certain station, which we call the headquarter, which unlocks a couple of gameplay features that you otherwise cannot get, like teleportation from ship to ship, for example. But this is still, it's something you can finish in a couple of hours, and that that is the core story. It's relatively short, and we want to build up on that. We want to tell stories in this universe, and of course there are some players that want more of that because that's like it's also a way to guide the player through the game. It's always the answer to what am I supposed to do, because there's always two types of customers, two types of players: those that don't need that don't want that even, because they want to set their own goals, and those people are completely happy in our universe because that's what the game is all about. But we also want people that want storytelling and want to have a guide, a red line that guides them through the game. So this is really the art, to combine those two things and make both of those types of players happy inside the same game.
Cinematically, I've been watching the videos here as we talk. Cinematically, it's just elegant. It's really beautiful. It feels like I'm watching a space movie from Ridley Scott or something, and I just find it incredibly appealing from what it has. It looks like it's got great reviews. A lot of people are watching the videos and stuff. I don't know, are you guys seeing much action on Twitch these days?
We have our own Twitch stream, a Twitch channel that we used. I'll
go subscribe to it here.
It was Egosoft.
Search for it, folks. Look for Egosoft on twitch.tv.
Yeah, it's just that we haven't really got the time to make many new updates recently. The same like with our YouTube channel. Sure. We have those social media channels ourselves, but we just since the release we are so busy with patches and updates that we haven't really found much time to make any updates. But then we have guys like you and lots of great YouTubers and Twitch streamers. Especially shortly after the release, we saw some really cool videos. And actually watched people playing our game while we were fixing the bugs and learning from them. That's a cool way of working.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be playing this probably shortly after we get off this this presentation. So if you're on today, it's let's see, February 19th. You'll probably see me testing out the game, and I'll just broadcast it live as we play with it and learn our way through it. But I'll definitely be playing with it on stream and. On stream and Steam for that matter, and we'll of course go ahead and share it with our Discord audience and everything else. Anything more you want to share with us before we go?
Oh, there's so much. It's as I said, it's a game for very different types of people. Everybody can trading is this aspect that I always put in the foreground because of the realism of the universe. It's the fact that it's not just, as we call it, top down. It is not designed around the player. It's a bottom-up universe in which there are really thousands of entities like stations and ships, and stations produce wares, ships bring them from one station to another. So even without the player, there's really a lot to just watch also on that economic level. You can actually see sometimes like there's a freighter bringing some goods from A to B, and if it is blown up, if somebody, even another NPC, blows it up, then maybe the prices for the ware that he's now not delivering will go up, and so the market develops based on that realistic universe, and it's not designed around the player. You can change, and that allows you also as a player then to change the universe very dramatically.
So if I go blow stuff up, I can increase prices for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You can start, of course, the more powerful.
Working on some sort of alien material.
The more powerful you get, the longer you play, the more the more assets you have, the more ships you have, the more stations you have, and in that role, you can then also really play a bigger role on the whole universe level. There are people we have seen save games now already with X4, which is only out for like. How many days? We have now February 19th, so it's like 30, 60, a little bit more than 70 days now. But we already saw save games with 500 plus hours in one game. So it's a single player game. So people are playing this really day in, day out for months and investing so much time in a single universe instance. And yes, these people can change the whole universe, and including the economy, the supply and demand chain, everything.
Wow, I'm gonna go become like a Warren Buffett. I'm gonna go corner the market everything, and then cause damage so I can raise my stock and everything. I'm gonna become the corporate raider of space. No, it sounds like fun. People love this sort of stuff. Like I have a lot of friends, and in fact, some of my relatives, they love the game Ark because they can go in and they can build stuff and they can create stuff, and they have a huge trading sort of thing. People love this stuff. Minecraft was the same way, you know, where you can build stuff. You know, people like making stuff and having a game that makes it so they can make their own stuff, they can design it, they can personalize it, because that's when I think you really feel a connection, relationship with the game, is when you can personalize it, it becomes yours. And a lot of games do that. I remember when they first launched years ago, Vanilla Destiny, and it was just, well, Vanilla Destiny. And now, of course, several iterations evolve later, and you can do some customization to your thing. And people like this. And like I say, I just from looking at the game, I didn't get a chance to play it this morning, but I'm actively looking at playing it soon. In fact, I might just end this sooner so I can go play it. It looks really awesome, and just a beautiful, elegant looking game. And so I would imagine that it plays as nicely as some of the work you guys have put into it.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope you will enjoy it too.
I hope so. So give us the website so people can look it up and check out some more about what you guys do and how you do it.
We have lots of different ones. x4foundations.com should work. The main website that everything links to is egosoft.com. That's our company. And there are also the other X games there. But yeah, since Egosoft is all about the X games, you cannot go wrong with just going to egosoft.com.
You gotta love it. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you guys coming into the show. Be sure to tell the show about your friends, neighbors, relatives, dogs, cats. Get them listening to the show. Get them sharing the show. Be sure to subscribe to the chrisvossshow.com, or you can go to chrisvossgaming.com. And of course, you can find the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, just about anywhere in the whole universe of podcasts. And of course, if you go to the Chris Voss Podcast Network, you can see all of the universe of the podcasts that we have there, and you can tune into whatever you want. Be sure to check us out on youtube.com/Chris Voss and twitch.tv/Chris Voss. And like I say, you'll probably see me playing this over the next few days and toying with it. And if I really fall in love with it, you may see more of it, because I'm kind of bored with one of my favorite games right now. So you may be seeing, and I haven't actually liked some of the new games that are out. We just wrote a scathing review on Anthem, and that's my opinion, so I don't want to throw you in on my opinion, but and I like Apex Legends, I think it is. It's okay, but I'm just not into these
battle royale shooters.
yeah, because once you die, you're done.
Wow.
So I like games like yours where I can build something. In fact, that was one of the problems I had with The Division. A lot of people were like, my friends were always like going on The Division, they build a whole inventory, and then someone would take it away from them and they have nothing. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like any fun. I'm building stuff, but I want it to be mine. It might stay as mine. That was the whole beauty of the whole beauty of the Destiny sort of magic, or what was supposed to be the Destiny magic. It really didn't fulfill itself, but it was supposed to be that you would have this character that would just go through all the eons of the game. But whatever, it's game, I get it. And plus, they had to put it in 1080p and 4K now, so it's a beautiful game. I'd love to see what this looks like in 4K too. Jesus, just the videos at 1080p look awesome. Anyway, thanks to my audience for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.